Hey friends, it's Tracy. I am back with a Let It Snow wreath tutorial. I'm going to share how I cut my mesh, how I cut my ribbon, how I make my ribbon bundles, how I make my mesh bundles. I'm going to give you some tips of how I put on my embellishments, as well as what I use to put on the sign and other tips along the way. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started and let me share what I used and how I created this Let It Snow winter wreath.
Okay, let me share the supplies that I'm using. I'm going to design my wreath on this is a silver 14-inch wire form that I get from the Dollar Tree. This is the sign that I'm going to use that says Let It Snow, and it has some faux like shiplap, and it has some cute little snowflakes on it. And Dollar Tree did offer these the last few years. I'm not quite sure this year, but this is the sign I'm using. And then this is the mesh that I'm using now. I shared my after Christmas find, these from Walmart that I got half off. It was 2 in a pack. This is like a bluish silver, this right here, and then this is like white and it has silver running through it. And so I'm using these two. Also, I'm going to use some of this. Now, this was offered at Hobby Lobby in their Christmas section, and it's white and it has some snowball, I call it snowball mesh running through it. I'm also going to be using some white pipe cleaners to put all of my mesh on my wreath. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I have my two 10-inch mesh here, and what I'm going to do is roll them out together because it just kind of helps me when I'm making my wreaths. Now, I'm starting at the 10-inch, kind of the 10-inch mark, and I'm going to roll them out to about probably between 13 and 14 inches because this is Walmart mesh where it's a little bit thinner. And so I usually make my Cruffles, which how I put my, roll it together, the design that I do. But since this is a little bit thinner, I'm going to go to the 24 mark. So that is going to give me 2 pieces of 14-inch that I'm going to put together. And so I'll cut both of these rolls at 14 inches, and I got about 12 out of the first set. I got about 12 bundles out of it. So how I make my Cruffles is, let me move my little clamps out of the way so you can see. I get these little clamps I bought these at Dollar Tree, both of these. These were in the laundry section. This was in the Crafter Square section, and I don't know, they just help me with my wreath making. Anyway, so I'm going to make a Cruffle, and so how I do that is I just take one end and I bend it over. I'm bend it over 3 times, and then I'm going to clamp it with one of these pink clips, turn it around. I bend this over like the edge of it, roll it 3 times, and then I gather it in the middle, and then I go on the top, like where it looks like, I'll call it a taco, where I have 2 rolls like that, and then I put that to the side. So then I do the same thing for the other one. And, some wreath makers like put something there to kind of help themselves hold it. But it is what it is. So I bend the ends over, and then I flip it 2-3 times. And then I just take my clamp it, gonna turn it around, do the same thing on this side, bend the edge over, then roll it once, twice, 3 times. Then I gather it in the middle to make my taco. So then I have these 2 like this. And so then what I use these for is, this is just what helps me. I take those clamps out and I make sure that my folds are on top, and I make an X. I just hold those together like that. And then now that's ready for my third my snowball mesh, which I haven't cut yet. I'll do that next. But since these first two came out, I did these first, and I was going to just use this. But then I decided, no, I'm going to put some more of the snowball mesh in it. So I'm going to cut those next. I'm going to use this snowball mesh. I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to cut these. Actually, I'm going to cut these at 12 inches since it's a little bit nicer mesh, and also it's a little better quality. So I started on the 10. So I'm going to go to the 22. Just use my rotary cutter. And usually I cut a whole bunch at one time, but for video purposes, I'm just kind of sharing my process. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bend over the edge, and then I'm going to roll just 2 times since this is a 12-inch mesh. I cut it at 12 inches. So I'm going to bend over, then I'm going to roll it 2 times. Then I gather it in the middle to make my taco. And as you can see, this is a little bit better mesh. And anyway, so then I just clamp it like that. So then now I have my bigger one, or, you know, with the other 2. And so I'm going to start putting on my mesh. And once I don't know if I'm going to go on the top or if I'm going to go on the bottom, but I'll determine that once I start putting it on with my pipe cleaners. Okay, I have my form here, and I usually just start on a bar on the inner ring. And I'm going to take one of my pipe cleaners and just go through the first 2 bars. And I just kind of hold it like that. And then now I just have my silver mesh and my white mesh from Walmart. Now I'm taking one of these from Hobby Lobby, and I decided I'm going to put that underneath it so it kind of looks like that. And I offset it just a tad, kind of like X, just to offset them. And so then I'm just hold it down. Now, I know some wreath makers put their pipe cleaners on first. I don't do it like that. So, you know, this is just the way I do it. So I kind of twist it 2 times just to get it to hold. And so then I will continue to do, let me do another bundle. So I have my silvery, my blue silvery mesh and my white mesh. And then I have this one from Hobby Lobby. This one is from Walmart. This one from Hobby Lobby. I put it underneath because I just want that I want a hint of that snowball mesh, a hint of it, meaning I want it just peeking out. Anyway, so then now that I went on the inner ring on the first one, then I go on the outer 2 rings on the second one, like that. And so I have them all pulled together, just gather them, and then I just twist it 2 times just to hold it. And then I will continue next, go on the inner ring, then I'll go to the outer ring, then I'll go to the inner ring until I get the fullness of the wreath that I like. Okay, so here is where I'm at the moment, and I have some little space right here that I'm going to put 2 more, and that will be a total of 20 bunches of these 3 10-inch Deco Mesh. So I'm just going to share here how I just kind of, you know, close it up. So I just go in, you know, like a zigzag pattern, and, you know, just with my pipe cleaners, just on the top ring, and then I go to the bottom ring, and then I go on the top ring. And you know, there are tons and tons and tons of wreath makers, and more are joining this wonderful, you know, community. And so every wreath maker kind of finds their own way of doing things. And so, you know, I pick up different tips and, you know, different things from watching other wreath makers. And so, you know, so then now I'm putting my last one on the outer ring. And so anyway, you know, you just kind of find different shortcuts, different tips that work for you. and just learned different things. And so that you can, you know, figure out what kind of works for you. So anyway, again, this is a 14-inch, you know, wire, and I have 20 of these like silver blue. They're more dusty blue than silver, white and snowball mesh. 20 bundles on this wreath. So then now I am going to pick out ribbon, and I will share that. I'll show you how I cut it, dovetail, and put it on my wreath. Okay, these are all of the ribbons that I just pulled out. I have a 2.5 and also some 1.5. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to use yet, but all of these either came from Sam's Club, Michael's. I have another place that I order ribbon from. It's called Flora Supply Frenzy. I think this came from Dollar General. So anyway, I will share now which ones I decided to use and how I put them together. Okay, so I have these that I cut at 13 inches, and I like to use these Perfect Tail boards from Burlap Boutique. And anyway, so then now I'm just going to share, I have another 2.5 inch. I'm going to show you, once I get these done, then I'm going to show you how I put my bundle together. So I need 6 of these, so I just roll it around or twist it around, fold it, whatever a person would call it. I don't usually like to do more than 6 because once I, you know, fold it over, sometimes it kind of adds a little length to the ribbon. So I don't want, I usually do like 5 or 6 flips. Some wreath makers do them more, but that is what works for me. And so then I just go and cut my ribbons. Getting hung up here for some reason. Here we go. Okay. So then I just take, that's what where the culprit was. It was kind of hung. It's kind of sticking together. Sometimes it happens. All right. So then I just take these 3. I usually do, I just don't like to dovetail a whole bunch at one time. So I fold it in half. I take my fabric scissors and I cut at an angle. So that gives me the V cut or the dovetail. I do that on both sides. So then I have, you know, it like that. So I'll do these the same way, and then I'll move on to the next one. I have these 3 2.5 inch ribbons cut. I've already dovetailed them, and so what I like to do, how I do my bundles, is when I'm doing 3 ribbons together, I decide which one I'm going to want to make an X, and then I put the one that I want to be seen on top. So I make like the X, and then I, you know, put that one in the middle. I use my little tiny attacher. You may have seen me mention this before. I love this thing. It's one of my favorite things for wreath making. Yes, you can use that's one of the questions that I get. You can use a regular staple, but I just like it. Just puts a teeny tiny staple in there. And so then when I gather it like this to put into my wreath, I don't even feel it. So I'm going to go ahead and make all of these, you know, like this, and then I'll move on to my next set, and then I'll share how I put a few of them into my wreath. Okay, so I have my bundles all ready to go. I take the extra time just to get them ready so that when I put them into my wreath, I can just pick them up and go. So since I have 20 bundles and I'm using 3 sets of ribbon, what I did is I have 6 of these bundles with this gray burlap and the buffalo check, and then this white, and then I have 7 of these, and so then that gives me a total of 20 so that I can put them into my wreath. And so like I said, I cut my 2.5 at 13 inches, my 1.5 at 12 inches, and so then when I gather it like this, I just gather it in the middle. Let me do it this way so you can see. And so then I just kind of gather it and put it into my pipe cleaner like that, and then kind of position it so that it lays nicely, just like that. Okay, so I have my wreath here, and I just start somewhere. There is no right or wrong, just depending on how I want to put my ribbons in. So what I do is I just gather them like this. And then I untwist the pipe cleaner, and then I put it in, and then I twist it back. I get a lot of questions as to how I put my ribbons in my pipe cleaner. And so that's how I do it. I untwist it, and then I put it in there, and then I will cut this off, and I will give a dot of hot glue right there just to kind of seal the, just seal the twist. And then I will cut off the excess, and if it's long enough, I will keep it to use for other projects. But if it's too short and I don't want to mess with it, then I just throw those extra pipe cleaners away. So I don't have my hot glue gun heated up right now, so I'm just gonna kind of put my ribbon in here just to kind of share. But then I'll go to my next my next bundle. I just, I put my bundles in a zigzag pattern, like bottom ring, top ring, bottom ring, top ring. So then I will decide, I'm going to put this set in now. These are the 3 2.5 inch. So right here is like the next one that's up. So I'm just taking this one, gathering it, putting it in my pipe cleaner just like this. Then I'm going to twist it, I don't know, about 3 or 4 times. And then I cut that off, and then I put a dot of hot glue to seal it, and then I'll bend down any excess that I may, have cut it off. I don't like measure my cuts or anything. So then I will fluff my ribbons like that. So then now I'm going to go down here. And I have this one. And so once I get all of my ribbons on, I'll give you like a closer view once I, take my picture so that you can kind of see. That's all I do is I just untwist the ribbons. I put in my ribbon bundle or my ribbon, whatever I'm doing. I do a dot of hot glue, and just depending on the ribbon, I almost always use wired ribbon, and because that just looks the nicest. And so then now I have one ribbon, like I have one bundle here, one here, then one here.
So I'll continue to put in my ribbon bundles, back and forth in a zigzag pattern. Now, I did not cut off my pipe cleaners because in a bit, I'm going to show you what I did to curl them and make them part of the decoration for the wreath.
Okay, guys, so I have all of my ribbon on my wreath. Now, I know it was a little bit hard to see how I was putting on the ribbon, but basically, I just put the bundles in. I just start in one because, I did a zigzag pattern with the mesh. I go top and then bottom, and I just alternate them. until I get all of the bundles on. Again, I did cut 7 of the 2, and then I did 6 of the 3. And so that gave me a total of 20 because I have 20 bundles on here. Now, I didn't cut off the excess pipe cleaners yet because I may use them for my embellishments. So I just pulled out a couple of things. These I don't know, snowball looking things came on a pick from Hobby Lobby that I had on hand. And then I just pulled out some of these. This looks like a Walmart tag. It was a white snowy branch. I had these on hand as well. And then I have a couple of these little squiggly things that came from Walmart. And then I also have some white bells and some silver bells. I think this is a Dollar General tag, and then this is Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to kind of maybe randomly put some of this embellishment, put some of the embellishments on before I put on my sign.
And I used my pipe cleaners that I had secured my ribbon on, tied it on. I used that to my advantage. I just threaded the jingle bells on and just, threaded them through the top of the jingle bell. I did one silver and one white on all of the gray and white buffalo check ribbon bundles, and so that's how I kind of kept up with it. Now what I'm using is these wire curling tools that a sweet friend and viewer sent to me. Thank you so much, Jan. I love these. It just kind of has a little slit in the top of that tool, and you just slide it through like the pipe cleaner or wire, whatever you want to curl, and you just curl it on itself. And I just love using these. And also what I decided to do is just keep all of these pipe cleaners because I'm using those other curly white pipe cleaners that I got from Walmart. And so I'm just using it for decoration.
Okay, guys, what I did is I took off or I separated the small little curly cues, and it does have a wire on it, but I want it to be just a little bit longer. So I'm using my picks machine, and what it does is it puts this little picks on it, and they have, their sharp little blades. I get comments, questions all of the time. People have their own opinions about, the need for a picks machine. This is just something that I invested in many years ago, and I love it. And I got mine at Hobby Lobby. But what it does is it just kind of, gives the little steel picks. And then let me cut this a little bit longer because I want it to get a little bit of this fabric or whatever so that it has something to hold on to. So then it puts a small pick in it, so then I can glue it into my Deco Mesh wreath in between those flaps, and it holds it a little bit better. All right, so I took my small styrofoam balls from Hobby Lobby apart, and this wire is just a little thin. So to get it a little thicker, what I do is I just kind of bend it like that, and then I can, it just has something a little bit thicker for my steel picks to go into. And so I'm going to do that for all of these, and I've already put them on my branches, and that's what I do, guys, to put my embellishments in my wreath. So that's why I'm sharing that. I use my picks machine and just put these steel picks on the end so that, and then I glue it, secure it into the flaps of the Deco Mesh, and so then everything stays nice and tight, and last for years to come. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you here. I kind of go in between the Deco Mesh and just make sure that I just put some glue in there, and then I secure it in between, the Deco Mesh so that it attaches like that. And that steel picks just gives me the added security that I want for my projects. So then now, since I'm using 3 different things, what I think I'm going to do is just kind of sporadically put these around. It just kind of goes in between that Deco Mesh, and you know, the glue gives it the added security, as well as so that you know, it doesn't pull out or fall out. So now we're going to put some white branches. And you know what? I think I may go ahead and put on my sign, and then put my embellishments around my wreath. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to put on our sign next. Okay, I'm going to take this off because I don't want that. And then I use these cable ties. I will have a link for them if you're interested of where I got them from. Okay, they're already sticky, but I just like the extra security, and so I just have some E6000. I always have to, and yes, my E6000 is black. I didn't realize it until I got home and was going to use it, and it comes out black. But anyway, it holds the same. So I just put a dot of that. Sometimes I just put it on the board itself also because they're sticking together. Okay, and then I do some, you know, hot glue. Man, they're just really sticking together. Okay. And then I use pipe cleaners to, you know, string them through or thread them through. And I'll also glue that, but I'm not going to do that yet because I want this to dry. So I use some of these clamps to hold my zip ties on, or my cable ties, and I let that dry for a little bit. And then I go back and put in my pipe cleaners and then attach it to the frame of my wreath. Okay, so I have my sign on there, and then I just started to put my embellishments in there, just kind of space them out the way that it was, you know, very appealing to the eye. And so again, what I do to attach my embellishments is I use my pix machine to put a small pix on there, or pick, whatever one chooses to call it. Anyway, and then I, you know, will just continue to go around and, you know, I kind of space out my embellishments a bit. And then, yeah, then this wreath is going to be done. I'll put a hanger on it. And yeah, I will show y'all at the end what it all looks like. It's just turning out so pretty. Actually, even better than what I kind of had in my mind, because that's kind of, you know, what happens, like as I'm designing a wreath, I kind of have like my thoughts, my first thought, but then as I go along, it just kind of progresses, and it just kind of, I just kind of make it my own. And so I'm so thankful that so many sweet friends love this style of crafting as well. I'm so honored and blessed that you are here. kind of going in between the Deco Mesh. I put some glue in there so that it would hold. Just kind of in between the flaps. And then as I'm working on my wreath, you know, some ribbons will get, you know, flipped under. So always make sure and fluff out my ribbons. Cut off any of the extra strings that come along.